These trucks are clogging the road. Our cargo flow is so slow. It will hurting our reputation.
Our customers are demanding faster and cheaper delivery, but we are stuck in the traffic from the port to the city.
And don't forget the CO2 emission. Our air quality is getting worse with all these trucks.
What if we enhance the rail connectivity with import and shift more cargo to rail transport?
This brings us to today's article, which review the challenge, method, and strategies to improve serial intermodal system. Let's explore what researchers have found. In this video, we are exploring an important topic in global logistics, serial intermodal transport. The article we select is titled Toward an Efficiency Serial Intermodal Transportation System, a Systematic Literature Review, written by Abu Aisha, Audi, and Ohimo in 2024. We chose this article because it addresses a real and growing challenge: how to move cargo efficiently and sustainable between port and inland destination. The idea of combining serial isn't just practical. It could be a game changer for country dealing with congestion, carbon emission, and supply chain delay. In our video, we aim to summarize, critique, and evaluate this article by discussing its research problem, methodology, key finding, and conclusion. We will also highlight the point we agree and disagree with, support our argument using credible sources, and provide real-world example and recommendation for the future of intermodal transport. Now let's take a closer look at our article itself. The main research problem discussed is that while serial transport can offer major benefits like reducing costs and carbon emission, it's still underused globally. Many ports struggle with poor coordination between maritime and railway systems, and there's often no clear strategy to connect the two efficiently. To investigate this, the author carried out a systematic literature review. They examined 63 peer-reviewed papers published from the year 2000 to 2023. The study was grouped into 5 categories: performance evaluation, method use, planning challenge, influencing factor, and strategy for improvement. In terms of findings, the article highlights that serial intermodal transport can significantly reduce road congestion and improve port throughput, especially when supported by smart port technology, dry port, and data sharing system. However, they found that most of the research is heavily focused on China and Europe, with limited coverage of developing region. This article concludes that stressing the need for more digital innovation, better inland rail connection, and policy support to expand serial system worldwide.
So researchers widely recognize the serial intermodal transportation system SRITS offers significant advantage in cost efficiency and sustainability. I agree with this statement also because this form of transport minimizes handling between modes by keeping goods in the same container, which simplifies operations and reduces delays. This reflects the theory of intermodalism, where integrated systems improve cargo movement by combining the strengths of sea and rail transport. Moreover, from a sustainability perspective, SITS is aligned with the principle of green logistics, as rail generates far fewer emissions than road transport. The European Commission has promoted intermodal transport to reduce the CO2 emissions and road congestion, thereby reinforcing the strategic role of SITS in achieving climate goals. The literature reveals that ports with effective serial links outperform those relying solely on road transport. Efficient terminal layout, coordinated train and vessel schedules, and technology-driven yet operations reduce dwell time and improve container flow. For example, studies on port cities like Shenzhen show that using SITS can significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improve urban air quality. This environmental benefit is a major consideration in logistic planning, especially in congested cities with pollution concerns. Economically, SITS helps reduce the total logistic costs, including fuel, labor, and storage fees, while offering higher volume capacity. The use of optimization modules further support decision-making, helping ports minimize costs while maintaining speed and reliability. Several scholars have highlighted challenges such as poor infrastructure coordination gaps and empty container repositioning. In many developing countries, outdated systems and fragmented logistics reduce the effectiveness of SRITS. Another point raised is the over-reliance on the mathematical models without enough the real-world validation. While optimization tools are powerful, field studies apply them in actual port environments, limiting the practical impact. This gap suggests a need for small simulation, empirical studies, and cross-stakeholders collaboration. At the strategy level, policy alignments and investment remain crucial. Administrative frameworks that harmonize regulations and encourage real usage can drive long-term adoption. These insights are consistent with findings from international transport authorities and organizations like the World Bank, which emphasize intermodal connectivity for economic growth and sustainability. In practice, ports such as Rotterdam, Hamburg, and Los Angeles have adopted the rail-based logistics strategies to increase efficiency, reduce emissions, and compete globally. These examples demonstrate how SRITS can enhance both operational performance and environmental outcomes. By integrating dry ports, smart scheduling systems, and logistic platforms, serial intermodal networks can evolve into resilient and scalable solutions for global trade.
Now I will be presenting the 3 key critiques drawn from recent academic literature on serial intermodal transportation system, or SRITS. Wow, SRITS is often praised for being efficient and environmentally friendly. Deeper studies reveal that these benefits are not guaranteed. In fact, several real-world cases challenge this optimistic view. I will be covering 3 areas of disagreement: environmental trade-offs, economic versus environmental priority, and shifting views on what truly drives SRITS performance. Let's begin with the first critique, the issue of environmental trade-offs. SRITS is commonly promoted as a low-emission, sustainable mode of cargo transport compared to the road freight. However, Whitebread et al. 2008 highlight that this isn't always the case. They argue that cost energy emission trade-off, such as the additional energy required for transshipment of or inefficient infrastructure, can sometimes offset any carbon savings. A real-world example is the China's Chongqing Rail Port, where coal and container trains are transferred between rivers, barges, and freight trains. The energy used in crane, idle waiting times, and diesel locomotive in certain legs of the journey reduce the environmental benefits significantly. Moreover, if the railway leg isn't electrified or if the rail route is significantly longer than the route alternative, the CO2 saving become negligible. Life cycle assessment further support these concerns, showing that unless cargo density and operational efficiency are high, SRITS may not be greener than it appears. Moving on to the second critique, the imbalance between economic and environmental priorities. Most SRITS study and project emphasize reducing costs, increasing throughput, and improving turnaround time. While these goals are important for business viability, environmental considerations are often left behind. As noted by Jens et al. 2024, many planning models for SRITS do not incorporate carbon pricing or environmental penalties into cost-benefit analysis. A good example is the Port of Klang in Malaysia. Efforts to link it with inland rail terminals like or Padang Besar are focused almost entirely on reducing route congestion and costs, but less on ensuring that the trains are energy efficient or powered by renewable. Without integrating environmental metrics, operators may choose route or schedule that maximize profit but do little to reduce emission. As the academic literature warns, this cost-driven approach can lead to short-term logistic gain at the expenses of long-term sustainability. The third critique deals with shifting views on what determines SRITS performance. Historically, the belief was that investing in physical infrastructure like rail terminal, cranes, and dual-mode ports would automatically lead to the system efficiency. But once et al. 2022 argued that this view is now outdated. Their research showed that softer elements such as service quality, capacity coordination and business model innovation are now just as important. This is evident in Europe's Rotterdam port, where SITS success is driven not just by hardware, but by smart coordination platform that allow real-time visibility between shipping line and rail carriers. In contrast, many Asian ports have world-class infrastructure but struggle with delay due to the poor information flow and lack of cooperation between logistics stakeholders. This suggests that operation, technology, integration, and governance plays a crucial role, sometimes even more than physical asset.
According to the study, the practical recommendation for port authorities is enhance the infrastructure integration between the ports and rail networks by constructing or updating on-door rail termination. Besides that, adopt the smart port technologies to improve coordination and real-time cargo handling efficiency. Second, for the policymakers and regulators, harmonize international transport regulation to ensure smoother cross-border intermodal operation. Second, introduce the incentive policies such as subsidies and tax relief to encourage rail over road transport, supporting the greener logistics. Third, for the logistic and transportation service provider, implement collaborative and scheduling the system that coordinate operation between ship, trains, cars, and AGVs to reduce dwell times and emissions. Optimize the container routing and repositioning through the AI or mixed integer programming models to minimize the cost and CO2 emission. Lastly, for the researcher and academics, engage in simulation optimization studies to test strategies under the various realistic constraints and scenarios. Create the benchmark for serial planning problems to enhance the cross comparison and validation for models, as done in vehicle routing problem, which is BRP research. For the future research topic in serial transportation and international transport, the future research can simulation the best strategy planning, study the large-scale investment impact in SRITS using the simulation models that consider cargo flow, cost, and emission. Second, benchmarking and classification framework. Develop the standardized data set and classification system like VRP for the SRITS to facilitate algorithm development and testing. Lastly, resilience and climate adaptation studies. Assess the adaptability for intermodal terminal in different regions to extreme weather or climate risk, like glacier melting and port flooding.
In conclusion, the serial intermodal transportation (SRITS) becomes more important because of its economic efficiency and the environmental benefits. Over the past decade, academic research on SRITS reflects that its potential to solve lots of logistical problems such as port congestions, high emissions, and rising transportation costs. And nowadays, it is more focused on how to improve the performance of port and reduce the cost. Although the reviews have found those advances, few critical gaps also been identified, such as lack of strategic level studies, especially long-term planning, policy frameworks, and the infrastructure investments. Additionally, lack of standardized data sets and simulation-based research has limited the practical applicability of several proposed models. Moreover, climate resilience, social impacts, and the integration of general cargoes into SRITS frameworks also be highlighted. Therefore, authors had recommended to adopt more comprehensive approaches, such as studying dry ports, discovering SRITS applications across different countries, and use advanced simulation to capture the real-world dynamics of intermodal systems. By applying the strategies, it can better support the development of sustainable serial intermodal transportation system, which is consistent with global regulations and environmental priorities. That's all for our presentation. Thank you.